I need to talk to you about a mistake a lot of you are making. And it's probably not even as much of a mistake as something you probably don't even realize you should be doing. Hey, badass business owners, my name is Tammy, and I'm here to help you grow those sales, but more importantly, grow those profits. And what I want to do is I want to discuss your profit and loss statement, because a lot of people think of that as something you use to see how you've done in the past. And that is not true at all. Because what I need you to do is I need you to think of that profit and loss a little differently. And if you do so, I think you're going to find that it's going to help you achieve more in sales and more in profits. Really what you're doing when you get your profit and loss is you're going, okay, how did I do last month? Did I do well? Did I spend too much money? What was the case? But you also should be looking at it for seeing what you need to be doing in the coming month. I had a bunch of conversations this past week with people, and what we talked about is the fact I'd asked them, what are you going to do in August? And their response was either they didn't have an idea of what their sales goals were in August, they took a guess because their gut was telling them one number and it turned out to be a completely different number, some higher, some lower. And then when I would ask about, hey, what's the game plan for the third quarter? Because we're also entering the third quarter, same deer in the headlights look. You see, your P&L has information for you to use, especially if you've been open longer than a year. So for example, what if I said, hey, what are you going to do in August? And you say, I'm going to do $50,000. And I pull up your P&L and I'm like, great. Did you know last year you did $65,000? What? No, I only did 50. No, according to what you did here, you did $65,000. Or it could be the opposite. I'm going to do $50,000 as they beat their chest, and it turned out they only did 30 last year. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do differently this year to blow away last year? So it's one of those things that if we don't use, the numbers are right there. We don't have to guess. You just have to go in and see what's going on. But honestly, you really shouldn't be looking at what your sales should be in August on August 2nd. Really, you need to be looking in July to see what your August numbers were last year so you can set your plan for August. Because when you get into the month, you should be executing the plan that you did. And then when we're in August, we're going to start setting the plan for September. So you're always kind of using your P&L in a couple different directions. How you did. How did you do against the game plan that you put together? More importantly, you're going to also figure out what's my game plan for the next month. And then I'm also going to be tracking how am I doing along the way? Because to this month in August, we're executing the plan we wrote last month. And the plan that we're writing now is September. But same thing with quarters, because a lot of times people do not think in quarters at all. And honestly, we're in the third quarter and you should know what's your plan overall. What do you plan to do in those 3 months? Because now what you're doing is you're tweaking each month as you get closer versus you already had an idea of what you plan to do before. And then what's going to happen is as we get into September, you're going to set that fourth quarter plan as well, using the numbers from before. Because if I'm trending 10% better than I was the year before, it's not hard to say, let me go see what I did last year and put 10% comps on top of that. And that's going to tell me where I'm going as well. So you're really kind of using that P&L for the information versus you trying to just willy-nilly pick a number. And unfortunately, I see way too many people that pick a number, or they don't have the first clue at all what they did, or they think they're doing something that they're really not, because they're also a lot of times the same people that couldn't tell me what they did last month. And if you don't know what you did last month, how are you really going to be putting a plan together for the future month? Your P&L is so important to your growth and for you setting those goals that you're going to do. Way too many people end up repeating the same year over and over, or they do well and then they kind of plateau. And the reason they plateau is because they just hustled and hustled and hustled and they got their business to where it was. But then what happened was the business started to suffer because they didn't know what the new goals are. They were already working tons of hours. They kept redoing in what they were doing or whatever the case may be, but they never really set their sights on what they could do, what is possible. So even if you are just barely keeping up with last year, there's nothing saying you can't add another 10%, 15%, 5%, whatever the case may be, and shoot for that goal. So let's just say you did 50,000 last year and this year you shoot for 60. And it might be a stretch goal for you because you've been doing about the same. Here's the thing. If you land anywhere between the 50 and the 60, you succeeded. But you had to push yourself to go for the 60, to go from the 50 to at least 52, 53, 55, 57, whatever. Any number in between was because you at least set your sights on a number that was better than the year prior. And not just some number you willy-nilly made up. No, you went to the profit and loss and you found out what you did. And by the way, the same thing works for sales. There's times where people will make a goal. It's like, look, my sales are running neck and neck with what I did last year, but I can make a profit goal that last year I made $10,000 and this year my profit's going to be 12, 13. So same amount of sales, but they made more profit. They're going to dive in and they're going to look at those categories and see where they spent money. And they might go, oh, last year I spent all this money on supplies. I don't need to buy those same supplies. Or I'm going to go try to find out a different vendor for something. Or I'm not going to spend more on this. Or they might go, hey, I'm going to lower this category, but I'm going to spend more on advertising because I want to try to get some new customers or clients, whatever the case may be. But they're using the information that's found inside the P&L to set what that goal is. Stop flying by the seat of your pants, please, whatever you do. Because what's end up happening is when you're flying by the seat of your pants, you're really actually flying blind. You don't really know what it is you're going for. And like I said, I ask my coaching clients this all the time, especially at the end of the month and the beginning of the month, because I want to see if they put any kind of thought into what it is that they're going to do. And what's interesting is that as people start to do it more and more and more, it's amazing. Their business starts to go higher. They start to do more in sales. They start to do more in profit. Why are they doing that? It's because they have a plan. They know they have a goal. They know what their business is shooting for. And it's a goal they can share with their employees if they happen to have employees. If they're by themselves, they at least have it. But if they have employees, they now can break that goal down, and they can break it down by day. They can break it down by jobs. They don't have to tell them the exact number, but what they can do is, hey, we have a goal and I've broken it down. And if we just get 3 more customers in a week, or if we can just get our jobs done in X amount of time, you can find a way to make it where it fits what your employees need to do in order to help you get there. So if I go back to my Home Depot days, right? We all knew we had a certain sales goal, but we also knew that we had 10 departments. So we would set goals for each department on that day. So let's just say on a Saturday, we wanted to try to hit, $1 million worth of sales for that Saturday, which was very common back in the day, early days, right? We were really trying to go that. A lot of them do more than that, but at that time, that was our goal. And every department knew what that plan was, what they needed to do and what they needed to hit. And when we would run the ticker tape, we would be able to say, so-and-so's blowing it away, so-and-so's slacking off. We need this department to pick up the speed for this department, or whatever the case may be. We gave updates to people along the way so that everybody knew what was happening. And almost every single time that we did that, we either came extremely close to the goal or we blew it away. It's because everybody had a mission. We had a mission from the time we opened to the time we closed. People knew what we needed to do. But we didn't just make up a number. We used history to dictate that. If we tried to do that on a Tuesday, it was never going to work. But we knew if we were going to hit that number, our best bet was going to be on a Saturday. So we used history to tell us what it is was the best goal. Now, we also did the same thing through the course of the week because we had a weekly goal, right? So we broke it down by day so that each day we knew exactly what we needed to do to hit whatever that big goal is for the week. Same thing within your business. You've got to use the numbers. The numbers are the key that are going to let you know if you are on target or not, if you're doing what it is that you need to do. You have something to compare to. But I promise you, if you get into the month without the plan and then you try to put the plan, the wheels are already in motion. The ship has left the dock. The cows are out the barn. Whatever saying you want to use, that's already happening. Now, worst case, if you haven't done it, it's better than nothing. But what I'm telling you is right now, when you're listening to this or you're watching it, I want you to ask yourself, do you have a plan already in place for next month? Are you executing the plan you wrote last month for this month? Do you even have a clue as to what it is that you did last month? Do you have a clue as to what you did this coming month? And by the way, when you start stacking year over year, you can see all kinds of really cool trends. And you can see that your business does certain things at certain times of the year on a regular basis. And if you have a month that bucks the trend, it goes something completely different, you have to ask yourself, what happened? What changed during that month that caused it to go down. There's so much good information inside your profit and loss that if you just really just paid attention, and by the way, at no point am I asking you to do math. What I'm asking you to do is to use the numbers. They're telling you a story. What story are they telling you? What visually are they telling you? You don't need to be able to figure out math that if you're trying to do $50,000 and you're on target to do 35, yeah, you can sit there and go 50 minus 35 is 15. Or you can go 35 is way less than 50. I need to put a plan in place for me to make up the rest of that money. Then yeah, use some really good math. Break it down by job. This kind of math that doesn't bother you because you already know that if each job is $50 and I need to do $300 more, that I need to do 6 more jobs to get that $300. You've got the numbers at your fingertips. If you've got the bookkeeping going on that you need to have, and you're looking at your profit and loss and you're using it to your abilities, it's got good information. If you have an accountant or somebody who prints that up to you and sends it to you every month and you throw it in the corner and it's still unwrapped in the envelope, you're not doing your job. You're not looking at the numbers. It's not telling you. And I've run into that multiple times. And now today's version is sometimes they don't even mail it to you. They email it to you and you got to go download it, and people don't even download it. They don't open it up. They don't even look at it. They're like, oh, I think I have an email somewhere with that information. It's critical information for you to be able to grow your business. So I know I'm sounding like a broken record. I really need you to hear some part of today that motivates you to stop flying blind. I need something about what we're talking about today to inspire you to see not only what you did last month, but what you need to execute for this month that you should have already put into place. And more importantly, start figuring out what you're going to do next month and this coming quarter. You know, there's all kinds of times you want to pull that information out. You want to look at it. You want to look at the history. You want to see how you're doing. Don't get upset that this month might be less than last month. If that's a common trend, then you just need to prepare for it. Hey, my business typically drops in this month, but what has been my trend with that? If I'm doing 10% better than I was last year, then it doesn't take a rocket science to say that, yeah, my sales might drop this month, but I still need to be 10% above last year because that's the trend that I've been on. Hopefully this all makes sense. We're going to continue to talk about it, say it over and over. Repetition is the key, as they say. And that's my goal here, is to how do I continue to help you see the value in that profit and loss, how to use it, how to make more money. But it all begins with first you got to have it. Okay? Information is key. I don't care if it's good news, bad news, whatever. It is what it is. Okay? Whatever happened in your business when it happened, it is. But what you can control is saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do for this quarter. This is what I'm going to do for next month. This is what I'm going to do. What's my plan? What do I need to execute? And use last year's information to see how you did. Did I do better? Did I do worse? You know what? What's my trend? What's my thing? Hey, I won't have this year. So this year I should blow that number away because I don't have these same costs. For example, we've got businesses that have been shut down. They're brick and mortar and they're shut down for a week or two because of construction, or maybe even a month because of construction. Well, now you're going into the new year. Don't just automatically go, well, I'm going to blow it away because we were closed last year. Go get the numbers. Go see what you did and then put a good number on top of that to say, I expect to do 25% more business because my street is now back open. Or to say, hey, what did I do the year prior to that before the business closed? At least that gives you a gauge as well. So if you did drop from, say, 50,000 to 30,000 during the street renovation, then at least you can go back one more year and say, oh, I did 30. I need to make sure that I can do at least that 50, 60 based off of trends, based off of how I'm doing this year compared to last year. Good news, bad news, it all has something that's going to help you out. You might have spent a lot of money on a certain advertising thing, or you went crazy with how much money you spent on some equipment, or you decided to upgrade your location, or whatever the case may be. Use the information. All of it is there to help you use the data from the past combined with what you know is going on with the future for you to be able to create some really good sales. So like I said, I can come up with example after example after example as to how these numbers are going to help you out. Once again, you're going to use them to help you drive your sales, but more importantly, drive those profits. But you got to use the information that's there because it's going to help you be even more powerful with the decisions that you make. You're going to make more strategic decisions because you're looking and using the information from what's happened, what's been traditional, so that you can set your goals. Because if you got a goal and you've got something you're pushing for, even if you miss it and you come darn close, that's probably going to be a lot closer than what it was. Matter of fact, I'll leave this funny one. I had somebody do this exercise last week or the week before, and they offset the number they gave me was like 20 grand below what they did the year prior. And I'm like, hey, so any money you do after that, do I get to keep it? Can I have that money? Because you don't want to do that much less than what you did last year. You should crush it this year. And if you're happy with that number, I'll take everything above and beyond that. So we had some fun with it. But it's one of those things. Our guesses are great, but a lot of times they're not as close as we think they are. Go look at the numbers. The true data is in the numbers. With that, I'm going to stop rattling. I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.